You're now ready to start creating your workbook. As a practice, I'm going to help my friend create his expenses for a day. To begin with, we need a new workbook. We're going to come up to the ribbon and click on our File tab. Then we come down on the green panel until we find New. Click on that and then select Blank Workbook. We now have our blank workbook. Let's quickly zoom in so we can see what we're doing. I'm now coming down to the zoom slider and just click the plus a few times. You'll notice that the first cell A1 has a green box around it. It's by default the active cell, and that means we can just start typing directly into it. So I'm going to type expenses. And now I can click away. In Excel, it's better to press Tab to jump to the cell on the right, or press Enter to jump to the cell below. We are going to press Enter again to get one more down. Next, I'm going to type item. Now I want to go right, so I press Tab and I've moved one cell to the right where I'm going to type cost. Now I press Enter. You'll notice it actually jumps down and back to the first empty cell in the next row. This makes your data entry very quick and easy, right? My friend's first expense was his train. So we're gonna type train, press tab, and that costs $6.3. So I'm just gonna put 6.3. Now click enter. Alright. He also bought a coffee, so let's put a coffee in, press tab, and that costs $3.5. And lastly, he bought some lunch and that costs $12. Enter. He also bought a juice, but then he realizes actually he didn't buy that juice today. That was yesterday. So now I'm gonna delete that value from that cell. Deleting is easy. Select the cell or cells where you want to remove the data and press the delete key on your keyboard. This will not remove the cell, just the contents of that cell. Pressing delete on your keyboard and using the delete on your ribbon are different. The delete on your ribbon actually removes the cell, and that may cause all the data in your spreadsheet to move. So don't use that unless you actually want to remove the cell itself. My friend now realizes he's made a mistake. The train journey didn't cost him $6.3. He's going to catch a train home again, so he wants to double this value. If you wish to replace the value in a cell, single click and overtype by putting in the new value. So we're going to put in $12.6 and press enter. In a situation where you want to modify the contents of the cell, you have a few options. So I'd like train to actually say train ride. Start by clicking on the cell you want to change. Then you can either come up to the formula bar, click on the formula bar and type your change. Now I actually don't want to keep that. So here's a nice little trick. If you have started modifying a cell and you don't want to keep your changes, just press escape. You don't need to press undo because you haven't really committed a change until you press enter. Now another way you can edit a cell is to double click on it. You see my cursor is now blinking in the cell and I can type in my change. And again, click enter. The keyboard shortcut for double clicking is to press F2. And then again, if you don't want to make your change, press escape. The next thing we need to do is to type in the date. So I'm gonna come up to cell B1 and type in the date, which is 12/4/2017. Now it's really important when you type dates into Excel that you use the correct format of your regional settings. Here in Vietnam, for example, we type day followed by month followed by year. If you are in the US, you need to put month and day and year. When you finish typing, click enter. And now you notice that Excel has actually made my column wide enough to fit the date, which is really handy. But it doesn't do that for all your data. So if you want to adjust your column width, come up to the top where you have your column letters, find a little separating line to the right of the column you want to make wider, and then click and drag. It's a really bad idea to leave blank columns in the middle of your data, so if you need to, just make your columns a little wider. Now, one last thing to finish our expenses, we need to total them up. I'm gonna click into B7 and here is a great trick. We're going to come up to our Home tab on our ribbon, and on the far right, you see a tool called AutoSum. We'll take a look at working with calculations later, but if you just quickly need to add up some numbers, you can click on the AutoSum. You see it's added up all the numeric values above the cell where I originally clicked, and then just press Enter. So that's how I did my friend's expenses. Now it's time for you to create your own expenses. That's all for today, guys. Thank you again for choosing my course. I see you on the next video. Bye bye.